What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. And if it's your first time here, I want to thank you too. So what I want to do today is I want to go through my top 5 favorite Wolverine characters that I actually have in my collection. Now, Wolverine is one of those figures that gets dropped like multiple times per year, including this year was a big year for him. But not every Wolverine figure is popping like that. I already see some of those box sets on clearance, like I said there was going to be. So yeah, these 5 are the 5 that mean the most to me, and to me, they're different enough that it justifies having them in my collection, because some of the other ones, they kind of feel like it's the same figure over and over. So let's see what's going on with that. But yeah, these are my top 5 Wolverine figures. So let me know in the comments, what are your top 5 Wolverines? Starting off at number 5 is X-Force Wolverine. And one of the reasons why I put this guy on the list is basically because of this costume. This costume is official to me. I really love the whole X-Men X-Force costume theme that has like Psylocke and Archangel and this guy right here. That team is bananas, and I'm still trying to put that team together. This figure right here doesn't really go for much. I think when I bought him, it was like under retail. I've seen this guy for like 15 bucks online. Not a big deal, but he's a great character. I also think he goes over a lot of people's heads, and people don't care for him too much until they want to put certain things together, and then they're going to start wanting him. The claws on this Wolverine are one of my favorite claws that ever came with the Wolverine. They're nice and thick. They're solid. They haven't come out. They don't pop out. They don't look flimsy. Some of the other claws, like, they don't look even. Like, look at my Age of Apocalypse Wolverine. His claws, like the second one's going into the third one, it looks kind of messed up. But these on the X-Force are perfectly straight. The red eyes pop and match the red belt. It looks really good. I love the boots that he has on these. It looks really official, real militant. This is just an all-around great costume to me. It's a great Wolverine. I do not mind having this guy in my collection. He is definitely not a repeat. It doesn't feel like, oh man, they got me with another one like this. You know, I think I bought this guy for the Build-A-Figure piece, but at the end of the day, he wound up growing on me so much, and I really love this figure. So I'm gonna have to give number 5 to X-Force Wolverine. Number 4 is going to Brown Suit Wolverine. And why is that? Well, why not? This is the first costume I ever saw Wolverine in. This is the original way that I remember seeing him in X-Men 1. This is what I knew from the beginning, way before the Tiger Stripe costume came out and that was popping. This was it. This is what I remembered. Him going toe-to-toe with Sabretooth and Magneto in this costume. I also like this costume a lot too, because just like the X-Force Wolverine, he is undersized, he is small, it looks more true to form. As we start going through these lists, you're gonna see Wolverine just like starts growing out of nowhere. So I like the fact that this figure is smaller, is more true to form. When I put him next to Cyclops, when I put him next to the other X-Men, when I put him next to Colossus, he really looks like, okay, this is what's going on here. I love this costume. This brings me nostalgia. This brings me back to when I was a kid, when I was growing up, to what I first remember ever knowing Wolverine like. This was him. I had the Wolverine NES game, and this is the costume that he had on in the NES game. There was no Tiger Stripe. It was the brown suit. So I'm just thinking, a brown suit Wolverine has to make this list. And not only is this figure one of my top 5 Wolverines, but he's one of my top 10 Marvel Legends in general. This guy gives me a lot of memories, and I really love this figure. He has to go on the Wolverine list. Number 4 is going to Brown Suit Wolverine. Number 3 is going to Weapon X Wolverine. When it comes to this Wolverine right here, he is the starting point for every single Wolverine. I mean, there would be no Wolverine without the Weapon X project. So every single character is going to have to derive from this guy at some point. So when I think about it, I'm like, yo, he has to make the list. There's no way that Weapon X cannot be on this list. Now, here's a little fun fact. I didn't even want this figure when it came out. So I traded somebody on Facebook Marketplace for something else. I forgot what it was. And he just didn't have enough for the trade to make it right. And he was trying to throw something in. So he was like, yo, I'll throw in my Weapon X Wolverine loose. You know what I mean? And I was like, you know what? Fine. Give me the Weapon X Wolverine. Threw him in the envelope and he gave him to me. This is one of the few figures that I have that does not have a box, but I love this figure right here. So like, once again, this figure started to grow on me with time, because as I looked at it and as I had it and as I started playing with it and putting him up, I was like, yo, this guy is detrimental to any Wolverine collection. I have seen people put this Weapon X inside dioramas, making it look like he's inside the water, doing all types of crazy stuff. And I'm like, yo, this figure's bananas. He has to make the list. He's not going to be number 1, but he's detrimental. Without this figure right here, there is no other version of Wolverine. I mean, how could it exist? You have to go through the Weapon X program first. So with that being said, Weapon X Wolverine has to be my number 3 figure. I also love the claws on this figure. It's not as good as the X-Force Wolverine, but these are serious claws. They're straight, they're sturdy, they don't pop out. I haven't had any problems with these claws right here. This figure doesn't even have much going on as far as paint, but it does have a lot of detail, has accessories. I mean, come on. I have to go with this. Number 3 is going to Weapon X Wolverine. Number 2 is going to X-Men 97 Wolverine. Now, let me tell you, in the beginning of the year, this was my favorite figure. I was like, whoa, this is like the best Wolverine I've ever seen. I really felt that way. So why did I feel that way? First and foremost, that cowl that goes behind the back of the neck, oh my God, I love that. I love the fact that he could just take it and put it behind his neck. I think it came out with one other Wolverine, but I don't have that Wolverine. So this is the only Wolverine that I have that has the cowl. That I love that part. That part is epic to me. The yellow on this stands out a lot. It has that X-Men 97 yellow. It's like a high, bright yellow, like a traffic yellow. It's really bright. It stands out. It's different. He's not my only Wolverine, so I love it. The claws on this one are kind of different too. They're not as sturdy as I like the other ones to be. The other ones look more like they're like an inch on the side. You can see them have width to it. This one doesn't have so much width. It has more sharpness. It looks like it could puncture you differently, but I like these claws too. The boots on these are dope too, and I like how he's true to form. The head sculpt on this Wolverine is amazing. Both of the head sculpts that came with it, absolutely amazing. I love this figure a lot. If it wasn't for the next figure that's about to pop up, this guy would have been number 1. For the whole year, he was number 1. I mean, those shoulder pads do kind of bother me now that I look at him spinning and I see how I got to fix those, but that's a minor gripe. This guy's number 2. He's different than a lot of other Wolverines that I've come across. And yeah, he would have been number 1 if it wasn't for the next one. And here we are with number 1, Astonishing X-Men Wolverine. I mean, I think a lot of you guys already knew that he was going to make number 1, but the first thing I want to say is you cannot deny that these Wolverines have been getting bigger and bigger as I go through this list. This is the biggest Wolverine that I have. I mean, he looks bigger, beefier, bulkier, taller than all the other Wolverines I put on this list so far. And that's the only thing that rubs me the wrong way with this guy, because he's not exactly true to form, but at the same time, I do appreciate that he's a bigger figure because he makes him stand out. And he's not that much bigger, but he's not the same size as the other Wolverines. I mean, you can clearly see Age of Apocalypse Wolverine is way lower than him, even though he has more hair than him. But with that being said, this costume is epic. The detail, the articulation, everything about this figure, I love it. This Wolverine right now is currently putting the beats on Captain America in my X-Men vs. Avengers section, and he is the highlight, one of the highlights of my diorama display. So yeah, I love this guy. The claws are epic on this one too. It makes it feel like it's a combination of the X-Force and then a little bit of like X-Men 97, but then again, not really, because those are really skinny. But these are like wide on the sides, but they sharp at the tip, and they're kind of different. It doesn't let you feel like, oh, they're just reusing claws. I also love the fact that this figure came with those hand pointing gestures. It has the pointing finger, also has the open hand, which lends to a lot of articulation and poses and things that we could do with this particular character that we couldn't do with the other Wolverines, which is why I really like this guy too. The boots are not my favorite. I really like when they come up and they have that pointy tip. These pointy tips are not really there, but I mean, come on, it is what it is. They have to make the costumes different. The cowl is a little bit shorter on the sides. I like it. It's yellow, but it doesn't remind me of the tiger stripe, because the tiger stripe has more of a mustard going on. So it is different enough that I'm like, okay, I can take this costume. But this Wolverine right here is probably my favorite Wolverine right now anyway. This is the guy. This is my go-to Wolverine. I like him more than the tiger stripe, but I would not get rid of my tiger stripe. I think each of these Wolverines have their own place. There's very few characters that can say that, because like almost every Iron Man that comes out, I'm like, yo, I don't see the difference. It's not that big a deal. But with Wolverines, these 5 are different enough that I feel like they stand apart, and they justify having each and every single one of these and not feeling like, oh man, it's just a repaint, or oh man, I got him for no reason. So number 1 is going to Astonishing X-Men Wolverine. So those are my top 5 Wolverines that I have in my collection that I feel like are my favorite, that I feel like are different enough to make a difference and stand apart from the rest. And those are the ones that I went with. So let me know in the comments, what are your favorite Wolverines? Wolverine is one of those figures that drops like 5-6 times a year, no problem. So there's no shortage of Wolverines. Let me know in the comments, what are your top 5 favorite Wolverines, and which are the ones that make a difference for you, and which are the ones that you would never want to get rid of? Which are your favorite? Until next time, peace.